This is, I think, the final piece of Python functions, and perhaps I should have started here to begin with, but at any rate, if you consider a typical function definition like the one in the upper left-hand corner of this slide, you'll see, ignoring the fact that DEF is capitalized, that's an artifact of Google Slides, it's really supposed to be lowercase. You've got a definition of a function named myfunc, which has input arguments called input values, executes a block of function code, and returns a value or a series of values called function output. The way to think about this is think about the function as essentially a black box. You don't really need to know in terms of conceptually what goes on in the box. And the box has a name called myfunc. What's important is to think of it as a process or a system where you supply input into the function, and it does its thing, and then it spits out some output. The input comes in the form of arguments that are supplied to the function when it's called. The output takes the form of what's returned by the return statement. And generally, well-written functions, with an exception that we'll talk about, I mean, that's what they do. But functions can also have what are called side effects. And the side effect is when the function does something other than return a value through the return statement. Some side effects are beneficial. Others are a trap for the unwary. So you consider the print statement, built-in Python function, accepts as input a series of arguments that it assembles into a string, and it prints it to the console, and it doesn't return a value. So there's no out with a print statement, but there is a side effect. And the side effect is, in that case, it's beneficial. It's external to your code. It prints something on the console, doesn't affect your program in any other way. So that's okay. But what if, in the course of executing the block of function code here in here, it changes some other variable in your program? Changes something other than putting out a value. That is not unheard of. Done properly, it can be okay, but generally you want to avoid it unless there is no other alternative. And the reason for that is because if you have a function that's changing the value of other variables, then you no longer have a concise logical construct of input, operation of the function body on a bunch of within the function, and output. And if you change some other value in your program outside of the function, I call that an internal side effect. That's my term. It's not a term that appears in the literature. But what it means is that it's changed something else in your program, and that can be exceedingly hard to debug. It can be very difficult to find out what went wrong with some code that you thought was a self-contained process to do one specific thing, goes and makes a change somewhere else in your program. hard to debug, hard to generate, hard to confine it to a well-defined logical construct. So kind of the whole purpose of this slide is to get you to think about a function as something that accepts an input, operates on it, and produces output. It's like putting money in a vending machine. It accepts the money, it does something, and then it generates something, whatever it is, something to drink, something to eat, whatever. It doesn't go and do something unrelated to its job. It doesn't go and do something that you might not expect, like delete emails on your phone. And so for a function to be a useful planning tool, you really should think about it in terms of how can I ensure that my function has no side effects, or that if it does have side effects, I know and understand what they are and I can manage them. So that's one thought I want to leave you with. The other thought is just to talk a little bit about, I have to move myself up here, a little bit about function arguments. Up to now, everything you've seen are functions that take required positional arguments. And that means that you have to match the number of values you provide a function when you call it to the number of arguments that were included in the function definition. If you go back here and look at this, whatever we have for input values here, whether it's x comma y, or whether it's some other set like I don't know, number comma power. If I were writing a function that took a number and raised it to a power, I might require that the function be called with a number and with the power you wanted to raise that number to. So those are the most common type of arguments that you will see in a function. And what you need to remember is that they have to come, you have to match them exactly. If you have two positional arguments in your function call, you have to call it with two arguments. But there are two other kinds of arguments that you can use when you define and call a function. One is a variable list of arguments. Say you have a function that calculates an average, and you don't want to write a separate function to calculate an average of 10 items, and another one to calculate an average of 11 items, and another one to calculate an average of 12 items. You want to be able to pass it a collection of items and have it accept that. So the second kind is variable arguments, and by that I mean arguments where the number of data items is variable and its number. Think of a list that could take a different number of elements depending on the circumstance. If you have keyword arguments, they come after positional arguments. So what Python does is it matches up the arguments that are given when you call a function, first with any positional arguments, and then with keyword arguments. And then the third kind, or not keyword arguments, arguments. And then the third kind is the so-called keyword arguments. Whoops, pilot error. And keyword arguments take the form of a keyword equal to a value. So you could, for example, have a function where the argument signature looks like number. That's a positional argument. Power equals 2. The second argument, power, is a keyword because it's got a key equals value set up. And what's good about it is it allows you to specify a default value. So if you just call this function with just number and omit power, Python will substitute and will pass the value to. If you provide it with a second argument, like you'd have to say power equals. But the point is, depending on the circumstances, there are multiple ways to pass arguments to functions. I'm not going to go into them in detail because invariably the vast majority of what you see will be positional arguments. And if you need to know more, you can always do a little online research. The only other thing that I wanted to mention with functions is we need some space here. Let's see if I can get rid of this. Yeah, go away. We haven't talked at all about validating function inputs. So if I have a function like the one we did earlier, which was multiply, multiply 2, we'll call it x comma y colon return x y. Simple function. It just takes two arguments, calculates the product, and returns it. What happens if you call that mult2, excuse the penmanship, and we give it 3 comma the character z? Well, that's going to create a type error because you can't multiply a number times a character. Or if you call it with 2 characters, it's going to generate an error. So the message here is that when you design and write functions, one of the things you have to think about is verifying that the input, when the function is called, is what you expect it to be. And that depending on where the function is being called from, if it's being called from data that you've generated in your program and you're confident that you've been careful about how that data is generated and you can reliably count on it being the data type that your function is expecting, that's fine. But if you're processing data from the outside world and you have no control over what somebody's typing at a terminal when they run your program or whatnot, you have to take some pains to verify or validate your input. And again, I just want to introduce this as a concept. We won't go into it in detail here, but it is something that we will be thinking about as we go along. So to try and wrap up this, a function is a named block of code that accepts optional input values when it's called, that optionally returns a value by means of a Python return statement. Per my expectations, it will always have a doc string, which is the 3 quotes and some text explaining the function, and then 3 more quotes. You should be very conscious when you write functions to either avoid side effects or be very sure that when you use one, like a print statement, that it's necessary and appropriate. So I'm going to stop here because this has gone on for 15 minutes, which is rather long for a speech. So that's all, and I think that that's all with functions for now. Thank you.